Hello, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. And Growth Drive is a system used by business advisors to drive client profits, growth, and value. Now, we're also a community. Every week we get together to talk about all things business advisor, everything clients, cases, things we're seeing out in the world. Now, tune in here to this podcast, and you can join the conversation by scanning this QR code, passcode 867-5309. Jump into the conversation. Everyone's welcome. We're looking forward to having you. So here we go. On with the show. Yeah, and we're going to, Catherine's about to start making the, the first night of the summit on Monday night. We'll do the round robin restaurant thing again. And that's going to be great. So for the uninitiated, we make a bunch of 6 to 8 top reservations. Charleston is an eating city. And then people, you guys are going to be able to sign up in the community. Yeah, I want to be there.
Bring your appetite.
Bring your appetite. Yeah, and it's done Dutch, unless someone decides to sponsor the event in the moment. Thank you, Eric.
There are only 2 things I can't stand, George: people who don't appreciate other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
And the
classic line from Austin Powers Goldmember.
That is
delivered perfectly by Michael Caine, not by me.
That is. Don't get me started. Well, guys, let's shift gears.
We got to welcome David.
Where's David?
Hey, David.
Hey, David. How are you, man?
Hey,
Great to see you.
Good morning, everybody.
You're in my. I've got to change my view here so that I can see everyone. I'm on gallery. There we go. Mr. Parsons. How are you, David? Great to see you.
Happy to see all of you.
It's looking forward. So, and still everyone on this call will be at the Growth Drive Summit here in just a few, screaming up at us, a little under 4 weeks.
Hey, Tim.
And David is a sponsor. Thank you, David. We're going to have, guys, in fact, I'm happy to talk about the summit. If you want me to go through how it's shaped up, I'm happy to do that.
That's David, good with me.
I'll invite you.
Okay. Well, let me show you. This is where the microphone, just if you stop being able to hear me, I mean, it's only 3 inches from my face, but give me 1 sec, guys. I'll share my screen and you will get to see into the twisted mind, but you'll see what we're working from. So facilitators and panelists. All right. I don't know if this is going to be big enough for people to see, but this is a behind the scenes look at our organizational document. So what's the summit going to feel like? I need to get our pictures out of the way. There we go. So what you'll see here is we've got names, roles, and sort of a brief bio. And that's what we're working with behind the scenes. So we're going to start on Monday morning with the AI pre-show. So we're going to focus on line 4 here and row 4, and I will make it larger for you people. There we go. There you go. So we're going to do an AI pre-show, and what we'll do is we'll do a preview of Claire. I have a meeting in about an hour on Claire. She's coming along nicely. Has anyone on this call used Claire used Claire in OpenAI? She hasn't been put inside Clarity yet, but has anybody here used her out in the wild?
I'm about to, but I did not yet.
Oh my gosh, guys, you are missing. You will be addicted. You'll be addicted. So we're going to preview Claire inside Clarity, right? And then we're going to work on workflows, something that I think we each as advisors need to get really good at, creating workflows. So and Andy Weevil will be leading this, and I'll be riding shotgun. So you're going to see some roles as I scroll along: subject matter experts, guides, discussion leaders, generally speaking. There's also another role I'll talk about in a moment. So then we're going to do the welcome. We will be introducing this year's member of the year, and the nominations are in. The votes have been tallied, and the board of advisors tallied. We'll be announcing that, and I'll be talking about briefly about where were we a year ago today, where are we now, and then sharing the journey with you. That's all. welcome. Here's the format. You guys are getting the sense. I keep hammering on this point. This is a summit. A summit is different than a conference. A summit is a gathering of senior level experienced professionals like each of you to work on best practices, develop, surface, discuss, shoot holes in. We are going to come out of here with some, you're going to come out of here with some killer knowledge. So, all right. So we'll talk about all that in a welcome. And then we get into Beth Cooper, who's the chief marketing officer at the Authority Media Company. She's a good friend of mine. And she's going to talk about personal brand. I'm going to interview her for half an hour on personal brand, which is a perfect tee up about your personal brand and how you create, maintain a strong personal brand that helps you meet your business goals and your personal goals, right? Because they are ultimately linked. Then Garrison, God help us, is going to lead a workshop. No, I'm super excited. So he's going to lead a workshop on winning ideal clients using the "Can I borrow your car" methodology, which many of us use. Mike has really sharpened up, sharpens things up. He's been working with Larry on this workshop, and guys, it's going to be very, very cool. You will come out of this with immediately useful information. I promise. And then our very own Dave Parsons is going to be interviewed by Barry Goodman about successful exits. And David, we can tee it up. David has been a twice very successful entrepreneur. And Dave, keep me honest. Dave's first exit was through M&A to a third party. And that was successful in a financial sense, but maybe left you with I can't wait for this interview. And then you built a second company with your son, which you have now transitioned out of, and he's at the helm, which is a very different exit. And I think those two are so immensely relevant. And David, and you and I have discussed this. You represent a relatively unique skill set in this community as a founder, CEO, successful exit, two-time, who has dedicated and you've dedicated the rest of your career or the next phase of your career to advising CEOs. And I tremendously powerful. David, any comments on that?
Yes, you nailed it. And I did have a good call yesterday with Barry Goodman, and
Great.
we hope to make the time very valuable to all the attendees. So yeah, that is my story. There's nothing special or unique about me personally, but I hope that my experience and the good and the bad and the things I wish I could have done differently all add value to the summit.
They absolutely will, man. And thank you very much for being willing to share your time and your experience. I'm really looking forward to it. Um, I, you and I have talked. There's so much to cover there. So I'm going to keep going on this journey. And David is going to be on an upcoming podcast. Right?
If you still want me, George,
100%. 100%.
Be honored to do anything I can to help. I'm super pumped about Growth Drive.
Thank you.
About what you're building here. All of it resonates with me. So I'm really thankful. In fact, I don't see how I could possibly have launched this career, which I care so much about, without your work.
Oh, thank you.
And the tools.
Well, you said something a moment ago that I need to push back on, and I didn't want to interrupt you. You have a huge amount. You actually have a very special experience. You are a one percenter, and in the exit space, and you have a tremendous amount of value. So I'm grateful that we found each other, and that you're getting value from the community. So thanks you, David.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. And because, guys, this is a summit, we consciously wrap up each day. They won't be like, okay, see you tomorrow. Anybody who's been in one of our events before knows it. We'll wrap it up. This is a long series of facilitated workshops, and then we'll go out to dinner and have fun. And we'll go to dinner and have fun. So then what happens? And I can walk through who, like, for example, Barry is interviewing David because Barry has deep experience as an advisor, and experience with helping people exit successfully. And his personal specialty is family businesses. And his background, his family had a family business, and he's fantastic. So then we get into day 2. I hope you guys can still all see this. And there's a tension between making this. We're going to use our time together to advantage. So first pit stop here is our networking breakfast. We're going to stay with the racing theme. So our first pit stop is an hour-long networking breakfast. It's not compulsory, right? But come on in, meet people, sit down, make new friends. We're going to, make new friends. And then we're going to jump into the workshops. So the first, we'll have a panel the panelists are subject matter experts, right? Because let's call people, by their role. Our 3 subject matter experts are Bob Goldsmith, of Northern Edge Advisors, an investment banking expert; Patricia Malone of Brenneman Advisors, who has a PhD in strategic capacity, and is doing tremendous work with clients; and Steve Cummings of Resolve Partners up in Toronto, outside of Toronto, who is well known to anyone who's been to one of our events. Steve has a lot to share. And so they're going to talk about sort of building on our white paper, strategic capacity as fundamental to value creation. And we're going to have an hour-long panel discussion, a lot of time reserved for your questions of them. So that's going to be very cool. And then we're jumping into we're going to break the group into two groups. You'll have a choice. Do you want to go on the software track or the engagement track? And you can switch. You don't have to. You're not committing for the day. Software track, how do we make strategic capacity relevant to growth and value creation, okay, using the software? And this is about educating clients, et cetera. Discovery, and then the range of values report. I hope everyone has seen the new range of value report. It's really cool. And the equity value planner. How does that play out? And then in the engagement room, we're going to get into the one. Are you a 1 or a 5? How does the spectrum, in light of the advisor's pledge? So we're going to be getting you guys resources next week. They'll be available as a PDF, and then we'll have printed versions for everyone in the room. The advisory spectrum. Are you a talker, an educator, an architect, a general contractor, or fractional? And every one of those is represented in the room. So how do we use collaboration to move strategic capacity forward? And then we're going to come back, and we're going to have a debrief here, and we're going to share best practices. And we have a methodology. Those of you, again, who have been in one of our workshops know that we're pretty good at surfacing the key learnings. And those will all go up on Post-its. It's going to be super fun. Then we have a full hour for lunch. Now, that allows for more networking time. Everybody's got to, check their phone. Everybody wants to check email, et cetera. We'll take an hour off. During that hour, though, by the way, Beth Cooper from Beth LaGuardia from Authority Media is going to be available to have a conversation with those of you who are interested about personal brand. So we'll have a set aside. And each of our sponsors, I haven't mentioned this yet, and I apologize. Each of our sponsors has the opportunity to have a table, which is really kind of a ground zero. If you want to talk to them, it's a place where the sponsors can have display whatever they want, bring leave behinds, whatever. But that's a first for us, and it's it's in the room. There's not a separate exhibit hall. We have 6 sponsors, and so that's going to be cool. What happens after lunch? Downshift back into a panel. How do we create? And this panel is increasing our reach and relevance to create value and make more money with this client. How do we help the client understand the full range of good that you bring to the engagement? How do we not get pigeonholed, et cetera? And the panel is going to be terrific. We have, I should be freezing this. We have that panel is Anna, Tim, and Wayne Lorgas. Wayne, super interesting guy. So, and we'll get into business models a little bit, okay? From the solopreneur through a standing working group, but without legal documentation, to a firm with legal documentation and equity, et cetera. So those different perspectives. Is this all making sense so far, guys?
Yeah.
And then we break into 2 rooms, and we're going to talk about, okay, well, if in these models, how are you going to use clarity to demonstrate your relevance and impact? Okay, and we're and it's an exercise. This is not someone standing in the room talking to you for an hour and a half about rah, rah, rah. There is no rah, rah, rah. This is we're gonna do in the engagement room, in the engagement track. And again, you can switch. It's up to you. You pick a room. How do we collaborate in areas where we don't want to play? So imagine that you're a wealth advisor and you bring the client to the table, right? Now, in the advisor's pledge, we know that we're going to honor that Eric bought that. Now, Eric's not a wealth advisor, but that, Eric brought the client to the table. And how do we collaborate? So let's take a wealth advisor who has no interest in, they might want to run clarity level 1, talk through the range of values and do the equity value planner. Great. But they don't want to lift the hood and get any deeper. They want to plug in, they want to plug in the computer, but they don't want to lift the hood and get the wrenches out. Terrific. What are best practices for coming together, for collaborating, for supporting each other, and from the customer, from the client's perspective, how do we create a seamless experience, a seamless positive experience for them? And you're going to have, I'm not going to be in that room, but I'm a little sad that I'm not going to be. I'll be leading the software track. And then we have our plenary review, right? So take a brief bio break, and we're going to come back and surface best practices and share them around the room. Then we'll wrap up the day. And guys, I can't drive anymore. And then we're going to have, this is another first, we're going to have a celebration dinner at the Charleston Aquarium. It's straight down Calhoun from the hotel. The aquarium is spectacular, and we're going to have a catered dinner. And I will say a few words briefly, and really just introducing my friend and definite thought leader, Fletcher Brown, the CEO of BEI, who's going to talk about doing and value creation from an exit planner's perspective. So it's going to be a great talk. And we have the aquarium for a while. Fletch is going to talk for 20, 30 minutes, and it's going to be beautiful. We'll have a great meal. Beer and wine will be served, and that's that. So that's Tuesday, and we're still going. Wednesday morning, first pit stop is we have a networking breakfast again at 7:30. Optional. Recommend you be there. I mean, we're in town. We're getting together, and as you guys know, who would characterize who's made literal friends at these events, right? Yeah, these are you're literally making friends, cementing relationships. So these breakfasts are a great time to get together, right? We're gonna get, and then we get into Eric Owen, the future of the profession panel. Now I'm going to play a small role. I'm just going to be asking. I'll probably end up only asking, 2 or 3 questions. The panel is Eric, Carl J. Cox of 40 Strategy, and and Tim Rohde, I believe. This all and Larry Prince. I apologize, Tim. I was volunteering you, man, but you're safe. And be the subject matters on the future of our profession, and I don't want to tease that out too much, but that's going to be a fantastic hour conversation that will purposefully roll into a um, a community conversation. So we're going to segue really elegantly into a live coffee klatsch. And we're all getting together, and we're going to do this in the room. So, because the coffee klatsch doesn't have an agenda, we're not going to have an agenda, but there are a couple of topics that we've covered, and we'll do a table exercise. So you guys will be able to collaborate as a table. And one of the things we want to surface is billing on value, right? Let's talk about billing on value, and because there's a lot of experience in the room, and a lot of different billing models. So, okay. And that's going to transition smoothly into the summit. What is the impact? What are our best practices, key takeaways? What do we still think requires work, so that we know that there are of course going to be topics on which we as a community want to continue to work. And now we will have brought together the best practices from AI, from client acquisition, from building a personal brand, from collaborating, from demonstrating our reach and relevance with clients, collaborating inside engagements. I mean, imagine your brain is going to be so full of great ideas that are going to come from you, right? You don't want to hear me talk about it for 3 days. Heck no. They're going to come from you, which is so fun. And then we'll wrap it up. And we'll do a professional facilitated wrap, and that will be that. And then in the afternoon, we'll all take a deep breath, and for everyone who's sticking around, there's a lot of spontaneous fun to be had. Okay. That, my friends, any questions? Any questions based on my...
I've got a question.
Please, Steve. Hey,
So,
Jeff.
with the 2 tracks, and obviously you said like we could switch and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
for the room that we're not going to be in, are there going to be any recordings or anything that we might review what happened in the other room after the
Sure.
fact?
Yeah, there'll be notes. So you'll see, and I could go upstairs and get them. We keep an archive. We use these Post-it boards, Steve, and people write notes. And we encourage you, you can take notes on a pad, but the group at a table conversation, for example, please put your notes on these Post-its, and then we comb through the Post-its, and we convert it into resources for you.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah, we do that after every summit. So we want to minimize the I'm missing out by not being in the other room. But the committee surfaced these topics, and thank you to everyone led by Mike Desiato, who worked on that. Thanks, Steve. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? If you can't tell, I am jacked.
How late, George, can I wait until I tag in Tim for my spot on the panel? Can I do it an hour before, or do I have to have it in 3 hours before?
The nice thing about these events, so the other thing you're not going to see is there is not going to be a 500 slide. I don't know how many slides are in the C3D.
Yeah.
There are going to be a very small number of slides that probably would not be really worth future reference. What will be worth future reference are the notes I discussed. So because it's facilitated, it's designed to be dynamic, right? Who's taking off? Got to jump.
Tim.
There goes Tim. It's designed to be
He
dynamic.
was offended by my comments.
Can't blame him. You are offensive, Eric.
I am.
So it's very dynamic, and it needs to be dynamic because we want conversations within the topic. What's fascinating is when you give exactly the same exercise to, let's say, 5 tables of 6, you got 30 people, and you're going to hear, I would wager 3 or 4 totally different approaches. A couple of tables will take a similar slant, but you'll hear 3 or 4 completely different approaches to the same problem. And that is fascinating, right?
Yeah. What impressed me last year, George, I came having not used Clarity. You and I had met 3 weeks before the conference.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about Growth Drive. I had never attended one of these. I knew George. I had met and I knew Mike Garrison.
Mike. Yep.
And I walked into the room and I got a tremendous amount out of it. But what impressed me the most was exactly what you just said, George. It was a completely dynamic, rather than prepared presentations, it was a collaborative discussion.
Yeah.
And those are the best discussions because everybody can participate. Not everybody does equally, but everybody can throw their 2 cents in, and you have a consensus that's built in the room, or a discussion about the differences between the different styles and what the merits are of each style. And to me, those are the best discussions. I can go see lectures anytime I want by picking up, going out on YouTube and watching somebody talk at me. I want to participate in the conversation. Participate by listening, and participate by occasionally asking a question or contributing a comment, right? And that, to me, that format is differential.
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
but being able to participate in something that's almost hyper relevant to you and what you do.
Yes.
Because, to your point, it's very easy to go online and watch a lecture that's hyper relevant, but it's much, much harder to find a group where you can have these conversations and discussions. Like this coffee Klatsch that happens every week is one of the most valuable uses of my time, like right now, just because I can come in. And if there is something that either I don't understand or I have maybe a different perspective, I can bring that to the table, and suddenly there is conversation around that.
Yeah. I just encourage everybody on the call and everybody who's listening. One, if you haven't been to one of these and you're listening, you should come to one of these. It's not the same to watch it.
We would still.
and-
I have to lock down the. I have to lock down some of the food orders. We've made some big commitments, but
Yeah.
we can still accommodate. If you're listening
Right.
to this, saying, "Hey, wow, I didn't. I think
Yeah.
I want to be there."
Yeah.
Please get hold of
And
us.
I was referring, George, both to the coffee Klatsch and the summit, right?
Got it.
If you can't come to, if you can get to the summit yet, come to the summit. It'll change your life, right? If you
Thank you.
can't come to the summit, come to this, because this is the next best thing. You get to talk with people. But I would also tell you, some of the best discussions I've had have been one-to-ones that have come out of this. Yesterday, I had a 20-minute conversation with George, and I had a 20-minute conversation with Larry, who's not on the call today, about something I wanted to do, and I wanted to ask each of them their opinion on it. And so those conversations in between are extremely valuable too, and you get the comfort level and you get comfortable interacting with people, and they start to know you and you start to know them, and you reach out and you have a one-on-one with people, right?
Yeah.
So I just encourage you, don't just sit back and watch, engage.
Yeah, we have I think somewhere around 300 videos out there, and so yeah, you can sit back and watch, but
Yeah.
this is a chance to be part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, every week, and we have and I've just introduced on Wednesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, office hours, which it has sort of two intents. One is for our friends on the West Coast, for whom this is 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., to have a more reasonable meeting time. And two, you guys have questions. It tends to be more intimate. It's 1 to 3 people. But I'm willing to take all comers. There's no reservation. It's an open door office hours. Think of it that way.
Let's be honest, George. If you know Mike Garrison, 6:30 a.m. is like, like your day's halfway done.
As my old man used to say, I've sweat through my first shirt by then. So very cool. Yeah, and everyone on this call will be here in Charleston. Ed and I are headed to Denver next week. Thank you, Ed. Any other to the BEI conference, which has they have There's a reason the organizations get along so well. We have very similar perspectives. And to a point that I think Eric was part of our conversation. This is an aside, and let's just jump back into the topic at hand. EPI and BEI are not either ors. They are tremendously complementary organizations that both are in the exit planning space. They are incredibly different organizations and very complementary, and I would argue synergistic. So for what, that's my 2 cents.
I think the one thing I noticed different though is I think in the BEI group you have really a much more preponderance of wealth planners, and then shall I say attorneys who do a lot of consulting and work in the wealth planning estate world, as opposed to the EPI group, who seems to have a cadre of anybody and their brother who'd like to go through the program and thinks it might have application to their business model.
Yeah, API does an excellent job of educating predominantly wealth advisors on exit planning concepts. They do a tremendous job, right? It's a great program. BEI takes it the next step. So if you think of the SEPA certification and the baseline to get into the certification program at BEI, they have different philosophies. EPI is training people in concepts of exit planning and value acceleration. BEI is about doing, right? They have software. They are much similar to Growth Drive. They have software called Planet. They attract people who tend to want to write plans to earn your CEXP. You must write and deliver an exit plan for peer review. And they also have a second complementary body of knowledge called owner-based planning that is really designed for insurance heads to highlight their relevance and impact, and is actually directly connected to our Protect Value module. So I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but you guys are two great organizations. John Brown invented exit planning. He invented the term. He wrote the first book. We use his book because it's a practitioner's book in our C3D course. Chris Snyder wrote Walk into Destiny, which is of just a very different book. And I would encourage people to read it. It's a worthwhile read. It's had a huge impact in its own right. So, and I'm not talking, it sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. If you study the two organizations, in fact, I haven't done this, ask Perplexity why one might argue they're complementary. Okay, let's get back to Growth Drive. Sorry, I'm going to be selfish. Any questions, guys, about the agenda, about what's going to go on, about how you might prepare? There very little preparation needed. Probably no preparation needed, but you would benefit from going back and reviewing the 1 to 5 advisory spectrum. That's super easy, right? Just understand those terms. The advisor's pledge, and you will have them in printed form in the room, and the 7-step advisory process. And that's the 7-step advisory process. I'm hesitating because it's really a cycle, right? We always analyze, design, and execute. And then we'll have some other fun stuff where Garrison is going to have some things in the book. David has an opportunity to have resources in the book. The sponsors each have an opportunity, and then we'll have a Clarity Level 1 report in there for you. A couple of other resources that'll help us rally around topics in the workshop. Excuse me.
George, are you going to have a list of who's attending?
Yes.
For each person? Good.
Yeah. What we'll do, there'll be contact lists. We'll publish that in Circle. We have 2 groups that have orally committed to coming. I just need to double check with them. That's the only reason we haven't released the list. One is an investment banking and advisory services, similar to Brenneman, similar but different, out in California. And then we have a group of fractional CFOs who are trying to get their calendars synchronized, and it'd be fun to have them in the room. But we still have a few spaces, a very few spaces. That's not being salesy. This is going to be tremendous. There'll be, I think we're going to have more people in the room than is actually ideal. And I've been called out by, in particular not called out, but Garrison is like, I think anything beyond 50, maybe we should consider limiting it to 50 people in the future. And there's merit to that argument. So, or 50 people plus sponsors. Our sponsors tend to be,
or you structure it a little differently and you have the larger things go with the larger and you have more breakout sessions. So you get the group smaller.
Yeah, the groups have to be, if you knew the amount of work, you guys, right? The amount of work that goes into preparing for this summit and that you individually put in, everyone, the committees, the subject matter experts, the guides. One of the roles that I'm sorry that I didn't call out was table guides. And so what we're doing in advance, and we're preparing with a one-pager, super simple, people who are being tapped to be table guides, so that at each of the table conversations, there's someone who's going to keep the momentum, keep the focus on the topic, not as a crossing guard, just as a table guide. Like, hey, making sure that we get the maximum out of. Sometimes when we get tired, especially, we can just slide into getting social, which is cool. And then the table guide will cattle prod you back on topic. Get to work. So, okay. Well, I think we whipped that horse. Anybody have questions, suggestions, and other topics to discuss? Well, we've just taken over a half hour on this topic.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Thanks,
It's Teresa Galino. I'll start. So when you go to register for the conference, if you're a lifer, that's included, but there's no promo code online to let you know that the lifer would register.
Yeah, you and I have spoken. You're on the list, and we're going to
Just
go.
from a process improvement perspective, I didn't know.
Okay, that is a great recommendation. In fact,
the registration
Teresa,
and all the lifers get it.
Awesome. I'll create a code that will allow lifers to just register for anything at 100% discount.
And the hotel
and thank you for being a lifer. So.
And the hotel was accommodating, even though they blocked most of the rooms. They were still complimentary about your program and making sure that people could get a hotel room.
Great. Yeah, they've been the Francis Marion. Thank you, Teresa. And I want to comment about the hotel. Like the Mills House last year did a really nice job. Yeah. And then they got a better. We committed orally to doing it, and I said, when I called them to say send me the contract. Because we were already publishing, immediately, you'll see in November and December, you're going to start seeing next year's summit. And they came back and said, we got a better offer. We got 80, whatever. They got a better offer, and they sold our spot. Cool. Led us to the Francis Marion. The Francis Marion is independently owned and is thrilled to have us and is very accommodating and is far less corporate. And it is it's 102 years old. It's a big old brick. It's the Grand Dame Hotel. It was the marquee hotel of Charleston back in the day. And it's still cool. It's quirky. It's quirky and fun. And it's a big old hotel. So with everything, all the great stuff that comes with it. So our conference is going to be actually in the old dining room. And our breakout sessions are just up a flight of stairs in the old kitchen. At the front of the hotel. So it's going to be great. Big old ballroom, as you would expect. Actually, David ran a terrific program out in Louisville a few weeks ago, at which Ed was present, I was present, Garrison was present, and it's David. You'll recognize the room feels very much like the room you had in Louisville.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited about it. Actually, I wanted to jump in and greet my friend Ed.
Has the introduction helped?
Yeah, I'm having breakfast with Christina again in the morning.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's great. See, collaboration at work.
Yeah, it is. I'm thankful for Ed.
Ed, I think and we're gonna have Ed. Ed likes Kentucky for a couple of reasons. So Ed is a bourbon connoisseur. And what do you have? 72 different bottles on offer.
That's about it.
Yeah, I'm a rye guy myself, but I love bourbon. Anyway, so glad, David. I'm glad that you and Ed have. This is how it plays out. This is how it plays out.
Yeah, no, I just talk about collaboration and growth drive and the growth drive community. So I did meet Ed through the event that we had here in Louisville. I had a great time. He introduced me to two people that have worked together a pretty long time in the Louisville area. Christina and I have really hit it off. She has, since that time, Ed directly referred me to two businesses, business owners, privately held businesses here in Louisville that she's done some work with that they need some succession exit planning work. So, pretty cool. And I really like her. We have great chemistry. So we'll see, whether those actually become clients for me, but super encouraging. So that wouldn't happen without, this community and George and you, Ed, and you taking the time to come down to Louisville for our event, which, look, we're a nobody. We haven't been around a long time. Nobody's really heard of me or Value Path Advisors. So you took a risk, George, even coming.
Oh my gosh, I would come again. I would come again tomorrow, man. That was.
I'm thankful for all of that.
Yeah. No, David, it was happy to help. I jump on the airplane, periodically. I happy to help. It was a fun event, and I'm looking forward to the next one. By the way, Peter is coming to. Speaking of meeting people through these events, Peter is coming to Charleston. So Peter Carr.
Wonderful.
Peter Carr.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Very, very successful wealth advisor with Morgan Stanley, who's an exit, but very interested in this space, and just a really good guy. Yeah. So,
George, to cap off the conversation, about how many people are you expecting?
60.
60. Excellent.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, nice.
It's going to be terrific, and it representative of the community. I mean, everyone on this call, everyone from wealth advisors, business coaches, Joe, investment bankers, fractional CFOs. We have a group from an insurance business. The Madison Insurance Group is going to be in the room, and they're terrific. They've worked with high net worth individuals, especially those who own businesses, and they have and they are leaning into the advisory space hard. Very, very cool, nice group of professionals. We got private equity in the room. I mean, it's just going to be it's a killer group. I love having these different perspectives.
Yeah,
it's the confluence of cultures, guys. Great cultures are confluences. And it doesn't matter where you look in history, great cultures borrow from the cultures around them. They are the melting pot. And for everyone from the Romans, it plays out everywhere in Mesoamerica, in the ancient world. So, and that is what makes this community relatively unique and very special. So, anybody had a chance to play with you? Can I shift gears? Can you tell I drive a stick shift? My dog died over the weekend, which is very, very sad. but it allows us to move from one stick shift to a much smaller and faster stick shift. And that change may be coming like, all right, when your dog dies, buy a sports car. So has anybody had a chance to check out the functionality, right? So clarity, we have the hull of the ship defined, and it is, and we had a webinar last week, which we've published. And I believe that we have a series of outtakes being published as well. I think one of the most powerful, I'd say the coolest things that Clarity now does is really allow us to project and discuss future outcomes. Because we are now getting what we introduced under the umbrella of a discounted cash flow calculation of value is a link between that data that you put in to calculate a DCF. Thank you, Ed, is one of the people who helped create the model. Ed teaches valuation during valuation certification programs. So Ed knows a thing or two. How many valuation jobs are you working right now? Clients are you working right now, Ed?
7.
I love you. I really do. So he knows a thing or two about valuation. So that DCF data, though, allows us to start tweaking simulator so that we're saying, okay, how fast, we're going to do a regression projection. How fast have you grown historically? We've completed equity value planner. How fast do you need to grow? And in that DCF and the new financial data module, we're also getting 2 entry points that allow us to say how much cash, how fast can you grow without running out of cash, which requires a level up of sophistication in bookkeeping and record keeping by your client. Okay. So imagine saying, okay, you've been growing, and I'm just going to pull percentages out of the air. You've been growing at 8%. Your cash will allow you to grow at 12%. But out of equity value plan, at your current strategic capacity, you need to grow by 23%. That 23% is more than you can afford to grow. And the name of the game is to help the business owner understand that they're going to need to increase revenues, right? Gross, net. They're going to need to increase their strategic capacity. That becomes the path for growing to the point they need to reach their personal wealth and legacy goals without running out of cash. And if they won't have enough cash to get there, how do we, then those are other questions you should be asking, right? Okay, well, then what are we going to do? I would posit that one of those, and then we're going to hammer on it, and I've gotten so much great feedback from many of you, is create an oil well. Okay, well, then why don't we take your business and create a business that has options? One of those options being that your business is generating enough cash that over a planning period, we can harvest sufficient cash for you to fund your lifestyle. How do we grow the cash flow of the business so that you can exit the accountabilities chart? It's the 7th exit option, right? Exit the accountabilities chart by running a business that's an oil well. And when you get there, then you will have created a business that has the option of selling to a third party. So I know I'm getting pretty far into the weeds, but how fast have you grown? How fast can you afford to grow? How fast do you need to grow? And now let's have a conversation. And if those 3 aren't closely aligned on the simulator chart, when we look out 3-5 years, then we need to talk. We need to plan for it, right? There's no good news or bad news, only data. Okay, I'll stop. I was getting on a roll. Does that sound like it would be useful to you guys? Yeah, David, you've lived it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You've lived.
And I think, again,
there's no good news or bad news. There's just data.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We make that point in C3D. It's just data. And good data allows us to plan.
Yeah.
That's what clarity
I
is.
also think it gives you different points to go to the owner on. Sometimes we need to affect the owner with emotions because that's how they are charged. But I can tell you when you're talking to an engineer that or an engineering type of person, they want data. They don't want to hear an emotional reason or rationale for something. They want to hear an objective, data-driven rationale for something. And so having both available to you gives you more options on how to approach somebody and how to deliver the message in a way that's going to resonate with your client and motivate them to make the change, right?
Sure.
How many people does it take, for health reasons for their doctor to say something before they'll actually change? How many people can change because somebody makes a side comment about their health and they go, "Oh, I'm embarrassed. I'm just going to change," right? Different people change. I wish Tim were on the call, right? Because he's an expert on change management, but different people change for different reasons. And having that data driven part is another tool we have to approach from a different direction for those people who need the facts rather than the emotional response to get it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I have not referred to AI yet, but Eric, man, stay tuned because Claire is going to be Claire is already super helpful. I encourage you to go into the community and just get the link and go check her out.
I'm disappointed that you named her Claire instead of Erica.
Well, I was going to call her Jackie because of Jackie Stewart was, it doesn't matter. It's a Formula One driver. And my son Jack's nickname is Jackie. And, but Claire, kind of cute. We got to, had I had it, by the way. Yeah. So I would have called her Eric, but that didn't make the top 5 names.
I know. It never does.
Never does. You'll notice that she's not called Georgina. Okay, guys, we have about 5 minutes left here together this morning, or I have to scoot in 5. I'm wondering if you might be willing to share either a key takeaway or something you hope we'll cover in a future session. One of those two, like what would you like to learn more about? Would that be okay with everyone? Is that cool? Good. All right, great. Who would like to go first? And then after you share, please toss it to someone else on the call.
I'll be first. Why not?
Steve, go ahead.
Which Steve?
Whoever just said I'll be first.
Steve Newtbar.
Mr. Newtbar,
All right.
go ahead.
So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the summit. I think that having that overlay of how everything is going to be laid out allows us to plan better. But really, I don't think, like you said, there's not a whole lot of preparation to be made just because it is going to be a lot of discussion. So I would think probably the best preparation that we can, really have is just to come with an open mind and be ready to, discuss different perspectives.
Yeah. Your life experience is your preparation. Yeah.
Yep.
There are going to be 2,000 years of experience in that room. Yeah. Very, very cool. Thank you,
So
Steve.
I'll toss it to Steve Duke.
Thank you. So I'm just going to, tag on to what was discussed here, and that's the value of community. This being an important one, but the summit being a larger community, but just being part of a community is very valuable.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
And I'll toss it over to Mr. Wankey.
Yeah, I think the networking is going to be the most critical thing because I think there's a lot of people in the room that we don't see on Coffee Klatsch that contribute a lot of guidance to us. And we've got to make an effort to bring them into the fold and make them an active talker and communicator because we learn so much from them based on what they're applying and how they're doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks, Ed.
I'll toss it over to Teresa.
Great to have you back, Teresa.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks, Ed. I'm looking forward to the summit, I think, and what I value most in the difference between Coffee Klatsch and the summit, like you said, is really building the relationships, getting credibility, we said face-to-face credibility, those relationships. But it's also the experience when you're transitioning from like a corporate business exit, so to speak, and you're coming into this transitional period, what you describe in the different experiences, because I don't have to waste time in different communities where I know you guys have already been there, guys and ladies that are part of this team, that they can just give me the option to tell me a little bit about it and I can do my own research. So as you guys were emphasizing earlier, it's a little bit of art and it's a little bit of science for me both. I like both of those to make decisions. So I value this and the summit differently and then your knowledge so that I don't have to waste time. So I've
Awesome.
really going to love the community. So thank you, everybody. I'm going
Thanks,
to
Teresa.
toss it to Eric.
Yeah, I go back to what I shared before. I think I agree with Stephen Upar's comment earlier. I've made this a priority. I've scheduled around this meeting, so I make it a priority to try and be here every week. Can't always. We all know that when things come up. I'm really looking forward to the summit, but I just encourage everybody, and I'm finding a lot of value in getting engaged, helping. George was gracious enough to during a discussion suggest that I take my idea and run a committee with it. And by getting engaged like that, it's an excellent way to get to know people better, but it's also an excellent way to get deeper into the community and really add, not just take, but give back to the community. And so I just encourage people to get engaged and also to reach out one-to-one with people, because no way can we get to know each other the same way in this. It's great to know everybody in this level, but you really get to know somebody when you work with them. Mike Garrison and I have partnered up on a client now. I know Mike far better than I did, and I knew him pretty well before from EPI, and now we're actually working on a client together. So it's really exciting to get deeper. George,
Awesome.
same
Thanks,
thing,
sir.
right? Larry and Carl also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who are you going to toss it to, Eric? Thank you.
Yeah. David.
So the two things that are really important for me, both from this meeting, which I look forward to being a part of every week, and the summit, are really, I need to gain more expertise over growth drive, clarity. I need to get that experience. So every little insight that I can gain from all of you that's going to shorten up the learning curve for me is going to be and incredibly important. And then secondly is really gaining that network of power partners, collaborating within the space is also really important for me at this point in my advisory career and for value path advisors. So those two things are really the things that I would certainly hope to gain from, greater expertise and an expanded collaboration base, whatever you want to call it. I call them power partners, right?
I like it.
Center of influences, whatever. Those two things.
I love the power partners. I haven't heard that term before. I like it.
Yeah, in light of that comment, David, you and Steve Duke and Ed, there are a couple of people on the call that I wasn't connected to as a first in LinkedIn, and I just, while we were sitting here, I sent everybody a connection, because I think
Thank
that's
you.
another component. We should all be connected and trying to get to know each other and have that in our sort of, not only in our back pocket, but also in our mind, thinking about how we can help each other, right?
Yeah.
It's not just,
I'm all about that.
yeah. So you guys will all find connection requests from me if you weren't already connected.
Yeah. And think of the community. Joe, we got to have time for Joe. Think of the community as kind of a very, very concentrated LinkedIn, right? Your bios, you guys are your bios
for sure.
in. And so Joe, man, good morning. Haven't heard from you yet.
Morning, guys.
Looking forward to seeing you, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I had just a little bit of a reminder that you have to stay an emotional level with the client, but also you need to back up the with progress and financial data to justify things. And so we're got a little challenge in front of us, Ed and I do, and we'll see how it works out. But
Yeah. You know, it's
stay on
interesting, Joe.
stay on linkage between the emotional side of it, but then also letting them justify the investment.
Yeah. Yeah, we show them an ROI and then we deliver it. We deliver it, and there's some exciting stuff coming on the technology side for you guys. But Clarity will already identify the ROI and track your performance over time, right? So you can say, hey, man, we started with. I won't go down that rabbit hole. Hey guys, mine is love that. You're right, community, right? This is about community, and I would say that Eric, you talked about forming a committee. You do not need my permission. I'm happy to be a sounding board, but if you guys have an issue, a topic, something you want to work on, stand up a study group in the community and let people know that you want to do it. Reach out to people who you actively don't expect. This is not a build it and they will come. If you want to workshop an issue, get a study group together around an issue, do it in the community, then reach out to people and say, hey, I would love to have you in this. It's happening behind the scenes. We can get pretty muscular with that. And community. This is a community, man. This is your community, and I'm just I'm honored and pleased as punched that you guys are getting value, and you are the value, right? So, okay, guys, we're 4 minutes over. My engineers are now stomping up and down. Where are you? So I got to run to my next meeting. Thank you, each of you, and anything with which I can help, I'm here, and happy to lean in.
Best time to get him is 2 a.m. in the morning.
It's actually not a bad time. All right, guys. Man, there's a story I didn't get to tell, but okay. Have a great week, everyone. Anything I can do to help, let's get together. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Be well.
Take care.
See you next week.
This episode is brought to you by the Growth Drive Summit. Our theme this year is building a profitable advisory business. Join us in Charleston, South Carolina, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. Expand your network, learn new skills, and generally have a good time. This is a top-rated event. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.